honor for me at this point to bring on the Honorable Commissioner for Education, a woman I really admire so much. She does not know, but she's married for the first time. That I really admire. I'm going to be doing a tiny innovation for her. Mrs. Folashade, Honorable Mrs. Folashade, please, let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. I've been here since about 10:15. So that's quite a long time. It's good to see all the speakers before me. I hope you pardon me. I didn't come with a presentation, and I came in and said I would listen to everybody, make comments, and then, you know, reach certain conclusions. So I thank all the speakers before me. I know them all. We are all members of COPAD. I don't know for how many years I've been a member of COPAD. I guess Pastor Bo will know. But it has been a wonderful association for me, associating with people with so much passion, so much knowledge, so much depth, so much vision for education. And I can see that we are still on that trajectory. So I'm very honored to be here. I greet all the teachers and all the teachers in the house. I always say that you are possibly in the best profession that anybody can be. And that's why I believe in what everybody has said, especially Pastor Wenga and Deodro Kolawole, where they said, look, you are great. You, in essence, that you just got to be proud of who you are, because you are great, and your influence on the country is unprecedented. As they say, a teacher touches eternity. You don't know where your influence will end. So since you are touching eternity, be proud of who you are. So I welcome everybody. Thank you for the messages welcoming me as well. So I was going to summarize the day. Let me start with the fact that we all agree that we must turn around. We must pivot. We must change. We must start to think about education differently. And that was why the last question, answered by Mrs. Oni, I thought was very, very, very beautifully answered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because it was answered by a teacher in the true sense of the word. And I'll tell you why I believed a lot in what she said. In this life, because I teach the 7 habits of highly effective people, and it talks about you operating in 2 spheres. Your inner circle is your circle of influence, and your outer circle is your circle of concern. Many things concern you. NEPA, you see, my own NEPA just went off. NEPA, bad roads, crime in the country, Okada menace, you name it. These are things that concern you, but what can you really do about them in practical terms? But the things that you can influence are the things that you should concentrate your efforts on. You can concentrate your efforts on how good a teacher you are, how you are influencing children in your class, how you are changing mindsets and paradigms, how you are supporting parents, how you are supporting the school, how you are changing lives one at a time. If you focus on that, your influence can almost reach your circle of concern, because you will then be you'll then be an influential person in your community. So I think, first of all, let us all accept the fact that we have got to change. But in changing, we have got to apply all that we have upstairs to make these changes. When we talked about the use of technology, we all know it's a big problem in Nigeria. Data is too expensive. This is probably one of the most expensive countries in the world for data. Data is extremely expensive. Devices are also expensive, too expensive for everybody. And so, other than asking people to donate to you, and so it might be very difficult to get devices. But you do not need computers alone to teach the skills that your students need to be useful students in the world that they are going to live in. Let's look at some of those skills. The British Council has distilled them into about 6, which touch everything: creativity and critical thinking, problem solving and innovation, communication and collaboration, digital literacy, student leadership. I think I've forgotten the 6th one. But you see, when we talk about student leadership, for instance, that covers things like assertiveness, like public speaking, like motivation to learn, So, but how do you teach these? They are not, I think it's best if we skill ourselves. And so I'm going to concentrate more on the skill itself and not the theory of it all. on how do you, in practical terms, integrate these skills in your classroom such that your children imbibe all the skills they need to be successful in the world they are going to live in. Remember, Mrs. Oni said something about the fact that the jobs that they are going to do have not even been invented. Since these jobs have not been invented, how do you prepare someone for something you don't know, they don't know, society doesn't know, nobody knows? How do you, in practical terms? That means that you have to build in them that student leadership part of things, their own personal thinking about them, their vision for themselves, a focus and a passion, flexibility of mind, ability, lifelong learning, and so on. So how do you do this? Again, I ask in practical terms. They are not subjects. And what I find is it's the way you teach. And that's why I'm hoping that the focus of all of us is on the way we teach in class. When you teach your students in class, you'll be surprised at the things that they can do and will do, even when it comes to digital literacy. I have students in far off private public schools in Lagos State who are doing great things with technology by themselves because they can think. Because and so that's why I think, for instance, in teaching things like when I was a principal, I found that the easiest way to teach many of these things was the way you conduct assembly. The fact that you teachers do not preach to the students. Even when I was in Osun State and teaching children in public school, I called the teachers, do not preach to the students. They don't hear you. They don't trust you. They don't believe in you. What you need to do is to get them to peer tutor themselves, which I think one of our speakers said as well. I think Mrs. Oni said it too. That look, get them to teach themselves. Let's have we sat down as a whole school of 1,000+ people. What are our core values? And we agreed. Oh, integrity. Oh, this, oh, that. At assembly, we shared it out. At assembly, come and tell us what this is all about. You know that by doing that, you have taught them to take responsibility for their own actions. You will teach them the consequences of their actions, because one thing we don't do enough of in Nigeria is consequences. You will teach them how to speak in public and be confident. You will teach them how to go and research and to think critically. And that is why, somebody said, why don't they censor Naira Marley and so on? If you like, you can censor him. It's too easy for them to bypass the censor nowadays. I hope you know that censoring means maybe they don't play it on radio. They can play it on internet. There's the deep internet. They can enter into any pornographic website. They can enter into any sexual act imaginable on the internet. And the internet, we can stop it, we can block it. But if we block it, we are going to also block the positives of it. So the best thing to do is to teach your children decision-making skills. How can you make decisions under conditions that are very uncertain, that are risky? And that's why I said handle assembly. The day we told them to handle assembly and we talked about punctuality, the students put up a play about a girl who was always late. And her mother always used to reprimand her. Why did you go? You don't wake up on time. You don't get to school on time. The girl shrugged it off. Then she started looking for a job. She got there late. By the time she got there, the interview process was over. And her classmate, who did not do as well as she did academically, had got the job. So, the students taught us, just by doing that, what did they teach us? They taught us so many things. So I want to, please pardon me, I want to put on the light. I think all of us should start to think about how we teach, how we influence the children in our classroom, how we teach them to think critically, make decisions, solve problems. If it's break time, you can have clubs and associations that solve problems. I would sit down with my students and say, look at our community, so dirty. What can we do about it? You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. Yesterday, a student came to see me. She had made all sorts of things from bottled water. She had made poofs and little chairs and tables that she gave to me. She made a clock. She collected spoons from a party, discarded plastic spoons, and used it to make the face of the clock, and so on and so forth. This is a child who is thinking critically about our environment. So I want to urge us all as teachers that, first of all, let us find out how we can integrate these skills into our classroom. When we keep saying, and I am part of government, so I really shouldn't say this, but even as a parent, nobody brought up my children except God and me. I don't need any school. I don't need anybody. I knew the principles I wanted. I prayed over those children and I worked for them. So what you two have to do is to make a decision that in this my classroom is going to be an outstanding classroom. There are so many ways to teach. And the ways that we are teaching, we are not teaching them the skills that they need to go out in the world. You need your students to study something. Let them sit down in groups and study a situation. Go out and present it to all of you. I went to a commerce class once. They were to a class, I think, civic, and they were discussing cultism. How do we eradicate cultism in Nigeria? The teacher put 4 reasons on the board. I said, come, you're not teaching the children anything. Put them in groups and tell them to discuss and come back and tell us. Let me tell you, they had 20, 30 reasons, 20, 30 ways to reduce cultism in Nigeria, because they know it, they live it. Cultism starts from primary school. So that for me is critical for us to understand that situation. That it's what we as teachers do in the classroom. And that's why I want to urge every teacher here. Don't wait for anybody. The students, their future is in your hands. Turn your classroom into a veritable 21st century classroom. I've seen teachers who have done worksheets. During the lockdown, there was a teacher who was teaching on WhatsApp. She was teaching on Telegraph. She was teaching maths. She had a little blackboard in her. She was teaching students from as far away as Maiduguri, because it was online. She was teaching her students, but the thing started. Do you know that woman appeared in the magazine of the World Bank? It was a magnificent effort. And I asked her, how do you teach on Facebook? She said, on WhatsApp. She said, some of them don't even have phones, but their parents, their auntie, their uncle. So she would say, just snap. She would snap the worksheet. She made the worksheets herself, drew images, did all sorts of things, snapped the worksheet, sent it to them, to their sister. In the evening, the sister would show her. She too would look at it. I don't know how she would snap it. I don't know if they printed it, but she too would do it, reply her teacher, snap it back, and the teacher would mark it, and they would keep exchanging correspondences. I thought that was a magnificent effort. So what I think we all need to do is see how all these things that we have learned today, when Pastor, let me take all of them one by one, because I was taking notes. So I'll spend time on Mrs. Oni's paper. Now let me talk about the next paper, which was Mr. Abiodun Kolawole's paper. That one was clear. He told us about the skills and equipping them for the reality of their lives. And this is what I have focused attention on here too. You don't know what their life is going to be like. By cramming and pouring, you are denying them of the skills that they need to be successful in life. That much I have to say. Technology is not the only thing. Remember, he gave us a TREP model. I thought that was magnificent. And there, I was going to talk about Mark Zuckerberg. He mentioned him. Mark Zuckerberg came to Nigeria. He went to see the vice president. Mark Zuckerberg was 30 years old when he came. A 30-year-old in Nigeria may still have been in university for 7 years because of what do you call it, constant lecturers going on strike. So what do you do to such a, can you see the trajectory of their lives? We are the ones who can change the trajectory of our lives. Teach our students to be self-sustaining, to do things by themselves. I have students who are from very poor homes. On Saturday, they go to a wedding, they will be tying gele outside. 500 naira per gele. For 10 people, they have 5,000. How did they teach themselves? Their teachers taught them how to tie gele, how to do nail polish, little things. So I'm telling you, and I don't believe I'm not someone who believes that vocational education is gele tying. I prefer that we look into the deeper, the heavier tasks like plumbing, carpentry, construction, and elect, and so on. But some people are going to tie gele. So what we have to do is to equip our students to be able to be successful wherever and in whatever circumstance they find themselves. You give them decision-making skills. So like when Mrs. Odi said, Naira Marley, don't tell them not to listen to anything. Tell them to go and research. Who is this guy? And then come back and tell you, what did you find out? You don't do the research. Tell them to go and find out about the guy. And then or you look for young people. There are many young people who are role models. You say, oh, you have Bobrisky, you have this one, you have that. Okay, those ones are in one category. What about this young girl who started Zara, the cosmetics line? What about, there's a young man who started, funding farmers through GoFundMe type of website, where he funds farms all over the country. You put in money. I've done it. I thought it was 419. So I put as little as possible. But I made my returns. And people have been doing it for years. He will show you the farm. The person is a cocoa farmer. He needs so. If you want, you invest. He tells you when you are going to get your money back at the harvest period. You know, what about that kind of young man? What about the people who are into fashion and doing all sorts of things in fashion, in interior design, young people who are making apps, young people who are designing apps online, who are coding? Why don't you tell them to go and research those ones? That means you too must research and know yourself. Tell them, look, they may not have devices, but to go and buy 100 naira internet, most students can do it. Tell them, go and find out about this guy who told you, this Bobrisky. Then when you have finished Bobrisky, go and find out about this other one. Tell me the difference. That's what you do. You don't need to be waiting for somebody to ban anything. So, and then Pastor Adebujiri, I mean, his was clear. Odd and even, I love that contrasting thing. There are so many odd things happening around us. And growth and fixed mindsets. To be a teacher, you have to have a growth mindset. And that's why I said, even you yourself, you must skill yourself in the 21st century skills. When we talk about teamwork and collaboration, it's also what Mr. Kolawole said. If you go out and meet other people, they will give you lots of ideas. Don't restrain yourself to teachers only. Have a broad network of relationships. Luckily, you can do it online now. Even Twitter, you can follow all sorts of people, all sorts of ideas. You can comment. You can listen to when I'm having my bath every morning, I listen to podcasts. There are podcasts that sometimes it's about education, sometimes it's about politics, sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's about life, about being a parent. So it's you yourself. I want the emphasis to be on teachers. Teachers, go and grow yourself and be that great person that you can and are meant to be. So he talked about growth and fixed mindsets. And of course, you know what that meant. And when we got to Mrs. Adekogbe, she talked about the professional teacher. There's pride in being a professional. We are not professional enough. And that's why sometimes a lot of the narrative in education, nobody takes us into account. Nobody talks, asks teachers, what do you want? They just assume. I remember I got a job somewhere. They said, teachers are simple people, just pay them one small amount and they will be fine. So I said, so they don't go to market, their children don't go to school, they too don't want to dress well. How can you say that? I didn't like that. I refused to work in that particular institution because I knew then he would ill-treat his teachers. And he himself was a teacher before setting up a school. So all of us need to start to look inward. And that is what I want to emphasize today, that I'm glad I was here. I'm glad there are many teachers in the house. Teachers, let us hold on to this, take control. I will end this by talking about my mother. My mother is 90. She was my maths teacher in school, which I hated, but that's a story for another day. But my mother used to come to class with a big Ghana must go bag because she has seen me, her daughter, and she knew why I hated maths then. I hated it because I felt it was abstract. You know, when they are teaching you cylindrical shapes, parallelogram, rectangle. So my mother went out and bought all sorts of things. So when you talk about cylinder, she'll bring baby food. You know it's in a cylinder. When you talk about rectangular shape or the cuboid, she'll bring something, a package, maybe tea that is in a, so that you see practically that maths is a practical day-to-day living kind of thing. And that's the kind of teaching. So in those days when they had no computers, my mother had her own source of, her own classroom resources that she used to teach. And from a student who expected to get F9 in maths, I actually had an A3. Because I grew to love the subject and to understand that it has everything to do with my everyday life. My mother was teaching us maths in a way like, oh, there's a room. You want to put 10 tables there. This is the size of the room. These are the tables. How many tables can you fit into that room? So that we were problem solving with maths. So it was not just 2A plus 3B plus, but understanding its relevance to everyday life. And so teachers, let us make our teaching relevant to the children, relevant to their everyday life. Let us build their curiosity and imagination. But let us build their problem solving skills, their ability to think. They are wonderful. They can think. If you throw a problem at them, you'll be surprised that their solution will be better than what you ever thought of. And so I urge all of us, but to do all what I'm saying, you too must develop yourself. It's not something that comes because you want it. You must develop yourself. So I thank you for inviting me here. I didn't come here as Commissioner for Education. I didn't come here to be saying we have done this, we have been so school. You can read all that in Twitter if you want. But I'm here to talk from my heart to teachers, to tell you why we, and as a proud member of that, of the mother of all professions, the greatest of all professions, I say we must take our profession in hand, turn it around, and make a difference in the lives of children. Their future is different from yours and mine. We cannot afford to teach children the same age-old ways. And they will pass WAEC, mind you, because there's nothing I've said here that doesn't mean a child cannot pass WAEC. It just means teach the child in such a way that the child's mind is flexible and adaptable. Once again, Pastor Bowo, I thank you very much for having me. It's been a wonderful session. It's been great to be with educators. It's been great to be a member of COPAD. I hope you have not forgotten me, because I remain a loyal member of COPAD, no matter where I am. So I thank everybody. I think Graham Stoddard was the first speaker. I came in too late to hear him, but I know he set the pace rolling with, we've got to change. So I add my own and end. We have got to change. We teachers, mother of all professions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And let's give the Honorable Commissioner for education, Honorable applause for that amazing, amazing insights and amazing talk. I think we're motivated to